Hi, everyone. Well, a lot of women in our 60s and 70s feel that we're invisible, that we're not relevant, that we have no part to play in society today. And sometimes it can be very, very challenging to get a perspective on it. But I honestly believe that older women are incredibly valuable and more relevant than ever in this time period. It's, for me, we've got so much to bring to younger people. We've lived through traumatic times, through very turbulent times. We have learned how to manage fear. We have learned how to be resourceful and to cope and to deal with loss. And I think that's a really, really important part of all of this. But I wanted to share with you, if you're watching this 60andMe channel, you are probably a woman over 60. But I wanted to remind you how important you are and how much important your ability to sort of not just thrive, but survive in these difficult times, and what we've got to offer others. Do you remember all these things that you've been through in your life? Now, I'm 74, so I was born in 1948. But let me just run down this list, because when I went through it myself, I was like, wow, I really did go through a lot of stuff, and all of you did, all of us did. But the first thing is the Cold War. Well, I mean, that started, I think, around 1945, and I was born in 48, so it was well underway, but it went on for years and ended in 89. But that was a very, very difficult time for the world. The whole idea of the East and West and the challenges that were going on, kind of history repeating. But the Cuban Missile Crisis was in 1962, and I remember that when I was a little girl, I was terrified. I honestly thought that the world was going to end. And probably many of you who are watching this felt the same thing. It was awful. It was just one of those life-changing experiences. And then, of course, there was the Vietnam War. Now, that went through many, many years, but in the late 60s and 70s, it was many of my friends from high school were being drafted. I was living in the States at the time, and my brother went to Vietnam. Both my brothers were drafted, and it was really just incredibly sad and a dangerous time. And I was actually marching against the war. I was out there, I was at university in 76, out there fighting against the war, marching and trying to protest. But it did end eventually, of course. But what an incredibly tragic time that was, and stressful. The civil rights movement, of course, was, it was very, very strong during this time. And Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. And of course, I completely forgot that President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. And do you remember the Watergate scandal? I mean, we talk about having lack of faith in our leaders today, and the corruption in governments around the world, basically. But this one was, really, really a visible one, Watergate, and that was President Nixon, and ended with his resignation, and all kinds of trauma around that. Just that complete lack of faith then in our leadership. John Lennon, he was killed in 1980. Do you remember where you were? I mean, these were really, really dramatic moments that we learned how to deal with emotion and with fear and with, with coping skills. The fall of the Berlin Wall was in 1989. And so now people are probably starting to remember, if you're a younger person, these things are coming into your consciousness. But a lot of young people don't know that we lived through all of this. And that's really, something I think that we can be proud of. It's something that we really have to share. The 9/11 terrorist attack in 2001, Iraq wars in 2003, and of course the financial crisis of 2008. I lost everything. I lost my house, I lost my money, everything. I had to start from scratch. So anyway, that's kind of where, it goes on, and we've lived through far more than that since 2008. But that's kind of where, younger people might not realize where we come from, what our background is, what our history is, what our, lifestyle has been over the years. And I think because of that, I truly believe that women over 60 are some of the strongest, most resilient, most creative women ever, or people on the planet. We've learned to, as I said, to deal with fear, insecurity. We've learned to be resilient and resourceful. And, it's not like it makes us anyway special at all. Everyone's going through stuff now that's really, really dramatic, but it gives us an opportunity to share and to share our wisdom. And then when you talk about the wisdom of old age, it was earned through living through these experiences. I hope this has been useful. What kind of things do you remember most about the last 30, 40 years? Things that you went through that really had an impact. Maybe I've missed a few that others can learn and share from. Anyway, I hope it's helpful. It's been a reflective morning. I hope that you are doing well, and I am sending you lots of love. And if you're younger watching this, This is what that woman that's sitting next to you in the cafe who looks, she must be at least 60. This is what she's been through. Take care, everybody.